What's up guys? Today I'm going to show you the one accessory that's going to turn this thing into the equivalent of these bad boys, for the most part. No intro, so let's just get to it. Alright, so I'm not really one to beat a dead horse, but I haven't seen this video made on YouTube, and this is actually a result of a bad recommendation I gave a very good friend of mine, Kalle of StartingStrongman.com. I'll link his channel below if you ever want to get started in Strongman. Where I recommended the Canon G5X a few years back. So a few years back, I recommended the Canon G5X for him when he was looking for a YouTube camera, kind of to upgrade from his phone. And CameraDecision.com, they listed the G5X as having a mic input, which I didn't know it didn't have at the time. It was actually the remote shutter release. And for years, it's been an ongoing joke of, oh, every time I mention audio and a camera, he'll bring that up saying, I don't know, I'm not sure if I believe you. So this is for you, Kalle. Point and shoot cameras over the last couple of years have started putting out insane quality. I don't have to tell you this. Channels have been built based on the RX100, the older models, and the G7X Mark II from Canon. So the one big issue everyone actually has is the fact that they don't have mic jacks. Now, huge advantage here, every DSLR, every mirrorless camera, first thing you're going to look for is going to be a mic jack. You're a vlogger, you're a video maker, you're an enthusiast, whatever it is, pop your microphone up top, hit click, and you're good to go. Now, for the most part, you're looking at, I'd say this body right now with the battery grip would run you around 1,800 bucks. Used lens, 1,200 bucks here. World's best kit lens on the Fuji X-T3, probably $300 or $400 if you don't get it with the kit, or 600 new, but I don't think anyone even buys them new anymore. And the footprint is pretty large. It's really good to have for anything that you'd be booked for. I love taking this thing out. I love shooting photos and videos, and I actually prefer to use this for photos when I want to do photos and videos, and I hate switching back and forth. So this is kind of what led me to purchasing this. This is the Sony RX100 Mark VI, 24 to 200 equivalent focal range. It's, you know, pretty cool. Slower lens than the previous generation, and after using the previous generation, I actually think that one is better for video. But to sell it, or at this point, would just be a huge waste. So this thing, personally, massively overpriced, but I did find this one used for $700. If you can find it around there, I think it's a pretty good buy. Otherwise, you can find the Mark V or the 5A for $500 to $700, probably used or gray market, which, you know, who cares? So one day I was at the National Arboretum in DC, and I wasn't actually allowed to bring this in because this was a professional camera. Quote unquote professional, told to me by someone at the desk who doesn't take photos or videos or anything. And for anyone familiar with the X-T3, it's a APS-C camera. It's a good camera. I mean, you want to call it professional, go ahead and call it professional, but there's nothing stellar or exceptional or super rare about the specs. So much so that I actually made a video showcasing the difference between the two, which really wasn't all that much, which I'll link somewhere here or here. I'm not even sure what side of the frame that little eye pops on, and probably in the description below in case I can't figure that out. But yeah, so the one limiting factor is the fact that it doesn't have an audio input. And when I was looking into solutions for that, and possibly for having just a lower footprint rig, if I ever wanted to go into the city and carry something all day, this is gonna work for any camera as long as it has an HDMI output, which most point and shoots in the last 5 or 6 years actually do have one. And that accessory, you may have already heard of it, is the Atomos Ninja 5. Now, I have no idea why no one has actually made a video on this already, because I think it's a pretty big deal. And the reason why I think it's a big deal is that if you take an example like this, I was able to buy this for $700, and it was less than half the price of just the body alone for the Fuji. And it covers, they essentially cover with these two lenses the same focal range, although this one at the wider end, I think it equates to like 27, it's an 18. And typically, if you're going to be lighting a scene anyway, I'm almost gonna say the camera doesn't matter, provided the lighting is really good. I just wouldn't use this in a darker environment where you're breaking like the 2000 ISO marker. That's when it really starts to fall apart. enter this thing here. Once you connect it externally, you get the 422 output, so you have a lot more flexibility in post, although personally I've never, even the Fuji has the 422 thing, I've never really noticed a difference, and I don't really push the colors, I guess, so maybe that's why I never noticed a difference, but I'll let someone who knows more comment on that below. Aside from that, the other nice thing about it is how small this is. Usually, if I'm taking the Fuji somewhere, it means I'm also taking a backpack, couple of lenses, bigger microphone, the recorder if I'm going to be using the recorder, and batteries. A lot of batteries, external battery pack, whatever it is. Eventually, one day I came back from a convention. Now, you know, not to brag, I'm a pretty strong guy, but I felt it. It was a day of taking videos, a day of lugging things around, having interviews with people, gimbal use sometimes, and I still had another day to go, and I was feeling it. So I came back and I experimented with this, and this is what I came up with. Now, this is the rig that I've put together for the Sony RX100 Mark VI. You can pretty much build the same rig for everything else. It is the Atomos monitor, a direct microphone, external microphone that plugs into the monitor, so that gets around the whole ambient noise issue and the fact that this doesn't have a mic input. This battery pack, which I bought because it has PD for the X-T3. I like this one in particular because it's a PD charger. I can fast charge my phone, and plus you can set it down upright. Don't know if you can see that. And it doesn't tip over because I like having this tilted forward. And that's pretty much it. It's nice as well because you get to bypass well, most cameras have a 30-minute record time or 20-minute in 4K. This one only has a 5-minute typically, but since I don't record internally when I use it in 4K, it's pretty much unlimited record time. I can record until this thing's out. And then the internal battery's out and we're good to go. Oh, this is, by the way, in case anyone asked, this is the little ND filter that we managed to glue on externally because they don't have an internal one on this camera, which is a shame because most cameras of that size, one of the big advantages is they come with an internal ND filter. So I don't know who dropped the ball on that one or if there wasn't any space, but solution found, no big deal. Now, clearly this isn't a solution for everybody. This is for someone who wants to get started making videos or maybe wants better production quality in their YouTube videos without necessarily dropping a ton of money. Great thing about this thing, which I'm sure you've heard plenty of people say, is that you can take the Atomos and it grows with the rest of your system. It's compatible with all cameras. Can record up to 4K 60 pretty easily. So it's going to be around and useful for a very long time, at least the next 5 years, I would say, at least until 8K becomes a standard. But even nowadays, the majority of us, we still render our work in 1080p. Even my deliverables, I still render the majority of them in 1080p and just use the 4K to recompose the images. That being said, you can actually unscrew this base here. If you wanted to get a lighter setup, take it out and it becomes significantly lighter without this giant battery pack, or you can use a smaller one, but hey, go big or go home. This is also a really good setup to use with a gimbal. Matter of fact, let me get mine and set it up right now. Okay, so this is my gimbal setup when I'm using this camera. And if you've ever used a Ronin S, you already know how great this is because even these 19.5-inch Pythons, they get pretty worn out after using this gimbal. I do have to put it down throughout the day. Very light, really good image quality here. Easy to hold with this, and you can mount any lights or anything else you would need like any other camera you would have. It's just that it's a lot lighter to use this way, and it makes it really easy to travel. So I like going to, all right, I'm gonna let you guys know how much of a weeb I am. I like going to Comic-Cons. So when I travel, sometimes I prefer to pack this over my big old camera, or I just bring this for photos, and when I'm doing videos, I stick to this. And typically I keep if I'm using a wireless lav like I'm using right now, I'll mount the receiver up there. The only thing I would say is that if you can't auto-tune your gimbal to make up for the weight, because these are so light, make sure that you carry a couple of counterweights with you and just screw them on somewhere onto the plate or onto the camera body itself. Otherwise, the motors might start going crazy. And I already balanced this, so and calibrated it, so it's not gonna do it right now, but it starts buzzing and making some weird noises and you might start panicking, but it's really not that big of a deal. This is probably the only real thing I'd use this thing for nowadays. Initially, I thought the Atomos Ninja 5 was kind of a waste of money and I was going to sell it after 2 months because I've only used it for recording a live stream, which was pretty useful. But with this setup here, it has become a very, very powerful tool for work, for fun. And the best thing about this, it's like the gimbal. It's going to come with me no matter what camera system I have. If this ever gets dated, if it gets damaged, or whatever reason is, I decide to switch companies, I still have this to use on any other camera that I'll ever use. And I guess the only other thing I would say is that the ultimate equalizer for when it comes to online media is compression. Whether you're uploading to YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, you're really going to be hit with that compression. And that's when everything kind of ends up looking the same for the most part. You might get some more shallow depth of field or something if you're using an expensive lens, or maybe more dynamic range, but do most people care? No. Eventually, at some point in time, I will make an intro once I figure out what this channel is about, and right now it's starting to turn into kind of tech, kind of actually doing work. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to record this, and even though it's got the ND on, I'm just too lazy to take it off. And you can really see like the image quality you're getting out of this. I would be shocked if anyone told me they were able to see the difference between this and the XT3. Now, if only they had a better way to control the zoom function. That ND is still on. There we go, that looks better. Let's take that boy back. You know, this almost makes vlogging real. No, it doesn't. What am I talking about? Oh, nope. Yeah, that's what happens when you don't, when you put half your stuff away because you're moving. Your stuff just starts to scrape altogether. I'm looking right at the lens. This isn't a bad vlogging setup. It's actually a horrible vlogging setup. Don't listen to me. Well, that being said, that's this thing, and me, and you, and goodbye till next time. That was a horrible, horrible end.